Online family, what's going on? Adrikus Cold Breath here, and allow me to start this video off with quoting something Jim Rohn said. What he said was this: formal education will create you a living, but self-education will create you a fortune. Let me say that again, you guys. He said a formal education will create a living, but self-education will create a fortune. Saying that to say, it stands to reason that the most relevant and the most life-changing quest that an individual can embark on is learning about yourself. Let me tell you guys something, okay? If I understand an exam, then I have a better chance at passing that exam. Would you guys agree? Right? If I understand the distance that I'm traveling, then I can better understand at how much gas that I may need to put in my vehicle. If I can understand how to drive, I have a better chance at making sure that I travel safely. Watch this. The more you understand yourself as a human being, the higher the probability that you can create the life that you oh so desire and become the best version of yourself. Saying that to say, you guys, I wanted to create this video because I don't know if you guys are aware, but when it comes down to understanding yourself as a human being, I truly want you guys to be aware and do not underestimate the power that is in the brain and the mind, you guys. God has blessed us with something so amazing, you guys. Let me tell you something. The power of the brain, the power of the mind is all you need, you guys. And I don't say that to just slang an expression around. I truly mean that, you guys. So what I wanted to do in this video, I wanted to point out something that is so important when it comes down to us as human beings, okay? And I don't know if you guys are into neuroscience. I don't know if you guys study neuropsychology, but if you guys do not take anything from this video, please take this, you guys. There are 4 regions of the brain. What are those 4 regions? The frontal lobe, the temporal lobe, the parietal lobe, and the occipital lobe. The most important region is the frontal lobe, you guys. Follow me. The frontal lobe is where the prefrontal cortex is located, specifically on the anterior side of the frontal lobe, which is the front, right behind the forehead, you guys, is the prefrontal cortex. Now, many of you may be asking, well, Adrikus, what is the prefrontal cortex? Hear me and hear me very well, you guys. The prefrontal cortex is the region of the brain that is responsible for all cognitive behavior. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for all exclusive high order attributes, you guys. So in other words, look at the prefrontal cortex as the CEO of the brain. That'll give you guys a better understanding of it. It is the highest cognitive function that we have, and it is 100% responsible over all goal achieving behavior, over all cognitive behavior, over all high and amplified behavior and attributes, you guys. The prefrontal cortex. So saying that to say, I'll explain what those attributes are. So showing empathy is an attribute from the prefrontal cortex. Being able to have a vision and imagination, that's the prefrontal cortex. Discerning and proper planning is the prefrontal cortex, operating from your prefrontal cortex, right? Delaying gratification stems from the prefrontal cortex. Being logical, taking logical actions are a prefrontal cortex attribute. Problem solving, effective problem solving is coming from the prefrontal cortex. Responding instead of reacting is coming from the prefrontal cortex, you guys. So if you notice, all of those attributes, especially delaying gratification, which stops a lot of people of getting to the next level. Delaying gratification, having a vision, right? Especially those two. All of those attributes, you guys, we're able to access from the prefrontal cortex. That is the most important part of our brain, you guys. So I say that to say, when we're operating from the frontal lobe, specifically the prefrontal cortex, you guys, we literally increase the probability of us achieving all of our goals. If they are realistic and obtainable, if we are striving for those goals and we're operating from the prefrontal cortex, you guys, we have a higher chance of achieving those goals, 100%. This isn't woo-woo. This isn't theory. This is 100% facts, you guys. Truly understand this. And sometimes most of the times, people are operating from the subcortical area of the brain. The subcortical area is the area of the brain that reacts, you guys. So there's everybody, us as human beings, we have something called the amygdala. The amygdala is responsible for the fight or flight response in us as human beings. Okay? So a lot of people are operating and being moved by the amygdala. The amygdala is a survival mechanism, you guys. It's the fight or flight response. And when it is triggered, a chemical called cortisol is released in us as humans. Cortisol is the #1 stress hormone, you guys. So when we're feeling anxiety, when you're feeling stress, when you're feeling uncertainty, when you're feeling unworthy, when you're feeling fear, what you're doing is you're operating from the amygdala, you guys. And the more you operate from the amygdala, living in fear, you cloud and you distort your vision and you make it so hard and complicated to access the prefrontal cortex, you guys, which is the executive center of the brain, which is a prerequisite that we must operate in if we're looking to take our lives to the next level, if we're looking to gain whatever that desired goal is, you guys, whether if it's a financial goal, whether if it's a health goal, whether if it's a family goal, relationship goal, etc. We give ourselves a better chance at accomplishing that goal when we're operating from the prefrontal cortex and not the subcortical area of the brain, which is the amygdala, you guys. Truly. And I know this is a lot, you guys. I have some more content, some more material that's going to go so deeply into this, you guys, along with the book that I actually have being created at this very moment. I'm doing the framework on this book, and this book is going to be so magnificent. Seriously, you guys. But in the meantime, until that book, my personal book, is out to the marketplace, I want to recommend 2 books for you guys. My first one, I want to recommend a beautiful, wonderful read, is Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life by Bob Proctor, you guys. Amazing book. Please get this book, you guys. Another one, Mind Magic by Dr. James Doty. These 2 together, you guys, let me tell you something. These 2 together are a powerhouse. With these 2, understanding the subconscious mind, understanding the paradigm in human beings, understanding the functions of the brain, understanding how to create habits, how to break old habits, understanding how literally our mind and how we can literally train our mind to accompany us and assist us in achieving our highest goals, you guys, effortlessly. Right? So again, 4 regions of the brain, you guys: the frontal lobe, the temporal lobe, the parietal lobe, and the occipital lobe. Right? The prefrontal cortex is located in the front of the frontal lobe. The prefrontal cortex is the number one, listen to me, you guys, it is the number one area of the brain that we have to access. So when you guys are met with people that try to inject their emotions in a negative way on you guys, when you guys are met with problems, or when people try to start arguments or try to debate with you in a negative, malevolent way, when you're able to respond and not emotionally react, you guys, you are literally operating from the highest function of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is responsive, not reactive, you guys. The amygdala is reactive. The amygdala is what seeks pleasure and avoids pain. The amygdala is what tries to keep us as humans safe and at a state of what they call homeostasis. Homeostasis is when the body is functioning at a balance, you guys. Right? When you're able to delay gratification, if you're on your health journey and you see that piece of fried chicken, or if you see that chocolate cake in the grocery store, and your mouth is watering for it, but you say, you know what? I'm willing to delay this gratification for a better outcome. This is so hard for most people to do, you guys. But the people that implement delaying gratification, what you're doing is you're operating from the prefrontal cortex, you guys, which is so amazing. So now that you guys know the attributes, you guys try your absolute best to operate and implement your entire life around operating from the prefrontal cortex, you guys, which is the executive of the brain. Literally, you guys. Literally. So again, you guys, in the meantime, before my wonderful read is published, I highly recommend you guys go and check out Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life by Bob Proctor. This is a wonderful read, you guys. And Mind Magic by Dr. James Doty. I'm actually reading this one now. But yes, you guys, you want to operate from the prefrontal cortex, not the amygdala, you guys. The amygdala is the fight or flight response. So when we're afraid or when we sense danger, the amygdala is triggered, and the only thing the amygdala is responsible for is getting us at a state of safety the quickest way possible, you guys. Right? The amygdala is a survival mechanism. It's not a thrival mechanism. Fear is a survival mechanism, not a thrival mechanism. Okay? And you have a lot of people that are living their lives through the lens of the amygdala, living their lives in the lens of fear. When you're walking in fear, and when your perception is distorted, you guys, you take a large decline in the pursuit of achieving your goals. Period. So these attributes and these cognitive behaviors, like delaying gratification, like being able to respond instead of having an emotional reaction where people see trauma. Trauma reacts, intention responds, you guys. And the prefrontal cortex is responsive, not reactive. So when you see people that may have this emotional reaction, or they're altered emotionally when people say things to them verbally, or they say things like, well, you know, or back in the day when people used to say, oh, your mama is this, or your mama is that, or I can't stand you, or you get on my nerves, or, you know, these verbal bullets, these verbal attacks. When people are altered by other people's verbal attacks and they get all out of whack and they get all out of their when they get all out of their equilibrium, that is trauma, you guys. That is trauma. When you're able to sit back and say, does this apply to me? Do I have to give you a response? Or can the response that I give you better serve myself? When you're able to go through those problem solving functions, when you're able to sit back and see how you can become victorious in a situation like that, you're operating from the prefrontal cortex. And by you operating from the prefrontal cortex, you exclusively give yourself a better chance at not only developing a more harmonious life, but you have a better chance at elevating to your highest, truest, authentic self, you guys. Plain and simple. That being said, you guys, Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life by Bob Proctor. Mind Magic by Dr. James Doty. These two, you guys, will do you a great service. And remember who sent you, please. On that note, you guys, until next time, God bless.